All right.
So we're talking about Return to Oz.
Show me a movie completely inappropriate for children.
I disagree.
No shit, huh?
I disagree too.
Yeah, I think this is totally appropriate for kids.
This is a great children's movie.
In what
It's
era?
not a grown-ups movie.
Christ, this
No,
is
I wish
I got a lot of
it
it gave me a lot of Labyrinth and Neverending Story vibes.
Yeah.
Very elaborate.
It's 10 times creepier than both of them put together.
Yeah.
Nothing,
I don't know.
Nothing
David Bowie's dick just being out for the entirety of
and when that horse is in the quicksand, dude, and Neverending Story, I mean, holy shit.
The scene where the headless thing, and like she opens the door to
the Hall of Heads
life potion and she screams.
That was awesome, actually.
That was one of my favorite parts.
Yeah. It's a good part. I just like imagine being 8 years old seeing that.
Hi.
Yeah. Okay. There it is.
I gotta agree with John though. I think this is more for kids because I didn't really like this.
Oh, no,
when I was like second grade, I
like
read
parts of it.
I read a bunch of the Oz books. Like when I was in second grade, I devoured them. I just read one after another, and they're all this fucking weird. This movie is very true to the books.
It is.
Yeah. I wouldn't read those books now. But I loved them when I was a kid. I think this is a kid's movie. It is. Kids like fucked up scary shit.
I have like almost all the original Baum Oz books, and I reread them all the time because it's like I grew up on them. I couldn't deal with when I was a toddler. Basically,
they're pretty damn peculiar.
They're very strange, and the thing is, this film takes a couple of different Oz books and chops them up.
Yeah,
two.
It's two.
It's the second and the third.
This is my objection earlier on the chat is that the fact that there's the details in this film are amazing. Jack Pumpkinhead is just like he was in the book in Land of Oz.
Jack Pumpkinhead
is just like he was.
I couldn't stand the hen though. The hen and her voice and her lines. Oh,
so all this stuff
so annoying.
And it's just chopped up into this weird. I don't know what they did with the story. It's just didn't work.
There isn't a satisfying like arc for Dorothy like there is in the first film.
They just stepped how weird the original.
There are scenes that work in this movie, but the entirety of its running time, I was sitting there going, "Hold on a second, wait, Walter Murch, the guy that worked on Conversation and all these other Coppola movies,
What's now?
like the dude's resume outside of this movie is flawless. This movie." It feels like it was made by somebody that literally had no fucking idea what the hell he was doing. And I wonder how you could have worked on all of those other great movies as an editor and come out the other side not knowing editing or pacing or where to put the camera or any of that shit.
They gave him $20 million. They gave him $28 million. They gave him $28 million to make that movie, to make this movie. He turned this movie into them, and they looked at it and said, "What the fuck did you do with our money?"
Yes.
And you are never allowed to direct another movie for the rest of your life. You're done.
But this movie is like if this is like Ed Wood level at times, like it's just it does not feel like somebody knew what they were doing.
It doesn't flow.
It does not flow.
Well, that might be Murch not being a particularly experienced director.
Also, it was more interesting before they got to Oz.
Yeah, as much as he worked on all these big movies. I mean, he was never in the director's chair.
No, I know, but an editor.
This is an extremely ambitious thing to take on. I mean, just technically, it was probably so many setups, so many scenes, so many special effects.
Stop motion.
Also, one thing about this is that this is Disney, right? And Disney owned the rights at the time to every Oz book except for the first one.
Right.
MGM still owned it, right?
And this is why they made the film, was to hang on to the copyrights.
They had to give MGM money because they used the ruby slippers.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's right.
This is them trying to make something out of their property. And
in the book, I guess it's a ruby belt.
There are silver slippers in the book. Yeah, but
there's a ruby belt also.
I mean,
that's a magic belt.
This is creepy nightmare fuel right here.
There you go.
Yeah, those guys were creepy.
Oh, so Sheila, after we watched it and we were like, Sheila goes to work the next day and tells people she worked with that we watched Return to Oz. And one of her coworkers, this guy goes, oh, I love that movie, which proves that no matter what movie it is, there's somebody out there
that loves it.
It's their favorite movie. And he also said, I love the Rollers. And I was like, okay, that's going too far.
The Wheelers, you mean?
The Wheelers, yeah.
The Wheelers.
No, they're one of the coolest parts.
Oh, there's way too Sid and Marty Croft for me. I just like that.
An 80s intrusion kind of in some way.
Yeah.
That was cheesy and weird.
There's like something from, I don't know, well, like, yeah, something from Sid from Lidsville.
Like the Rollerball remake. I mean, I don't know. The whole
also the styling of the film in terms of like the beginning was what Jared's talking about is interesting because it's like 1900. They really make the effort to make it look like the turn of the century.
It was a cool introduction of electroshock therapy, dude. That was creepy.
Which was coming in.
Totally inappropriate.
Anyone notice the yelling about movies connection in the Wikipedia page?
Which is
the whole 1899 part of it is based on Walter Murch reading Wisconsin Death Trip.
Oh, I did see that in Wikipedia. How does that connect? How does that tie in?
In tone.
We watched Wisconsin Death Trip.
Really quick, back to
it's our first episode.
Yeah, but how I don't get the connection.
It's just
because it's so fucking brutal.
Like it's just Western and it's like random and bizarre and kind of strangely violent.
Right.
So he watched Wisconsin Death Trip and said, "This is what I want to bring to my children's movie."
If there was a part in Wisconsin Death Trip where they talk about how there was an electroshock therapy asylum for children, and it burned to the ground because of a lightning strike, you would not have noticed that because everything else in Wisconsin Death Trip is also that weird.
I'd forgotten.
Like, wow. I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. I watched it as a child. It broke my brain in a certain way, and I continue to enjoy it as an adult.
I think it's an interesting train wreck.
Because it is an interesting train wreck, and I love that this person who is so widely regarded in Hollywood, who is so well loved as
read that dude's book.
Right, as a creator,
an editor
of worlds, is this guy who Disney just gave a bunch of money to, and I guess I would assume a bunch of it went up his nose, and the rest of it went into like the Wheelers, and then it was just like, here's my movie, beware of the Wheelers.
And I may say her name wrong, but I really like her. But Fairuza Balk is so good in this. She's really good in this.
The Wicked Queen,
10 years old,
was pretty good.
Her performance, she even has she's such a good actress, and even in later stuff I love her, like The Craft and stuff like that.
No, American
and The Waterboy, thank you.
And but she even has there's even moments where there's moments in this movie where she's actually echoing a little bit of
Garland.
Judy Garland. She's got a little bit of that going on.
I'm glad you said that, Jared, because there's one scene in particular where it sounds like she's doing the voice, and I'm like, okay, so that was like they tried it in a couple of scenes and then they kind of dropped it.
Yeah, they kind of dropped it, but I kind of liked it. Like I was like, because what it showed was that 10-year-old girl, she could do it. She was fucking pulling it off, dude. I was like, she could do the whole movie like this if you wanted. I'm glad they didn't, but she could do it.
Also,
what an impressive actress!
3 hours a day. They had 3 hours a day with her for shooting, then they had to do pickups and the 3 scenes she wasn't in the rest of the time, which is just fucking bananas.
And in terms of the look, I mean, you read the original Oz book. She looks just like the illustrations.
Exactly.
The
really does.
The very first one, just perfect. It's like kind of like that Beaux-Arts, that kind of like turn of the century Beaux-Arts feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks just like it. It's like a lot of this film is influenced by the illustrations from the book and like J.R. Neal and W.W. Denslow. It's like, it's really just, again, I think that what they did technically in terms of like TikTok and the Gump and like that were just amazing.
I looked.
This is 85. It's like this is great fucking work.
Is the Gump?
It was okay. I don't know. I think it could have been better.
Is the Gump the couch with the moose head on?
With the moose head?
No, it's just the moose head, actually.
Right. Well, it's couch for a while. But that to me, he was the best character. I mean, I liked his character, and
it was fun.
That was just
the guy
bananas.
that did Blade.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's Norrington.
Mind you, in
Steve Norrington.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Oh my God, that's
Jack Pumpkinhead is Brian Henson.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I was wondering
that character, and then the whole scene.
Innocent sound to him, don't you think? Like,
what's that?
Like, mom, you know, it's like, I get my mom. It's like, wow, that was kind of weird, man. Just wondering.
Yeah, I want to call you mom.
So that scene, and then the scene where she had to go, the sort of the climax of the film where her challenge was to go into Dorothy's test was to go into the room and figure out which ornaments her friends had been turned into. Mm-hmm. That's exactly like something I would have dreamt when I was a little kid. That doesn't make any sense, but it made perfect sense in the dream
logic almost.
It's dream logic.
She closes her eyes and spins around and then like bumps into the table and then like picks up the bird and like no, the bird's no.
That's not it.
Oz.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. That's very
the whole thing the whole thing with the books versus the movie, the original movie, which I do not like, by the way. I don't like the original Wizard of Oz at all. Is that there's
actually a couple before that.
You don't actually know if it's real or not. Whereas like they really kind of make it in the first movie, like, oh, she dreamed all of this.
Yeah.
And in this, it's like there's enough evidence in both directions that you can just sort of assume. And then as the books go further and further, it becomes obvious, no, actually, this is a real place.
Yeah.
Like Oz is a real place. She's
when in fact
really
she gets her Uncle Henry and Aunt Em to go into Oz and like book 7.
Right. It's pretty much, yeah.
Now, mind you, one of the things about this film is that this was 1985, right?
I was just going to.
I want to put this in context. This film came out in 85. Here's the films that came out in 85.
I'm looking at the same list I'm looking at.
Oh, I know. Okay. Weird Science, Back to the Future, Brazil, Cocoon, Enemy Mine, Reanimator, Legend, Life Force, Return of the Living Dead, and Thunderdome, and the second Nightmare on Elm Street all came out the same year. Daryl. Well,
and I think every single one of those has better effects than this movie.
It was an insane year for this kind of film. It was like it almost got lost in the noise in some ways.
I mean, I just looked at the box office for that year, and it was Back to the Future, Beverly Hills Cop, Rambo, Rocky IV, and Cocoon.
I'm just talking about the fantasy sci-fi.
I agree. Yes, right. and there were way. I mean, Life Force. It's funny you mentioned. I mean, like that movie. You want to talk about train wrecks? Somebody should pick it.
Oh, Life Force! I love that film so much.
It's a train wreck.
Oh my God!
But
that film is so nuts.
I have the Cinefex in the other room with this on the cover. I mean, like I remember this was a movie that was very well anticipated,
right?
And then it came out, and everybody's like, "Huh."
No, Disney fucking
just because they were like
threw this down a well. Like they didn't advertise it. They didn't do anything.
No, it came out. It was a very minor
because they didn't like it.
Well,
also, this was the British filmmaking pipeline where they actually produced it in Hollywood, but actually had it made in England, like they did for Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi.
I would pay money if someone had made a movie of the faces of the people of the test screenings.
Yeah,
I would watch that.
Warhol.
That's probably entertaining.
So I would say, Tad, that we're all just confused at this point.
I think it's an entertaining misfire.
Again, I love this movie.
I like it in details.
I agree with Chris.
It's more fun to watch than They Shoot Horses, don't they?
Well,
no.
Lots of things are more fun to watch.
There are more jokes in They Shoot Horses, don't they, than this film?
They Shoot Horses, though, is not hard to watch because it's disturbing to me. It's hard to watch because it's just not great. I don't know.
Oh, I disagree.
I'm with Jared on this one.
I think They Shoot Horses.
When disturbing is done well, I absolutely.
I mean, that's unfortunate for you guys.
Anyway, I like it. Not so much. I like They Shoot Horses.
All right,
we can go to the cards.
Yeah, Jim, we should because we're just
about Jim. Jim is very quiet on this one.
Then we're going to the middle because no one knows what the hell they're thinking anymore.
I mean, I enjoyed it a lot, but the special effects and some of the shooting of scenes just seemed like they didn't have enough money for pickups.
No, 28 million, even in 1985, was not enough money for
Probably
this.
not
enough money. Yeah, but it was still
also
a lot of
they had
fun.
40. They had 40 chickens and an animatronic chicken. Apparently, nobody could tell the difference between the animatronic chicken and the real chickens, which is fucking wild.
Really?
I totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
and then we didn't mention
I really like.
No, props to with the claymation guy,
Will Vinton.
I actually enjoyed all this.
This
shit.
was really good.
Yeah,
these are the guys that did the California Raisins.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
Did other stuff than that.
That shouldn't be a brag.
As soon as he gets human eyes, though, I'm just like,
I like that progression where he's actually.
No, I like that progression too. And then it was like, okay, that's going to get undone as soon as Dorothy, wins this battle of wits. Well,
there was.
I do like the sort of dream logic of one egg poisons him to death. Like,
yes,
right. You know what? That's straight from the book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how they got.
No, I know.
He rolled an egg into the tunnel and they all went away. It was great.
Again, it is just sort of dream logic, and also you have that one moment of looking up at the head, and you see the egg rolling around the rim. Of the cutout that it falls. And then you have the Star Wars ending where they all get to come back and
they're all polished up.
TikTok's all polished.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
We're trying to remake Star Wars to a certain extent. All right, I would go to cards at this point.
Well, that's also from the original one. The MGM
Let's say like
movie.
middle.
You know what? It's like I'm a little
kind
bit
of
above
enjoyed it
because I actually the visuals I thought were great.
Yep.
Yeah. So there.
This is dumb as shit, and I love it.
All right. Good
Where
enough.
the Wheelers.